apologies for the delay.
Before we get into today's topics, where we're going to focus on the specific policy issues, I wanted to do a brief roundup of yesterday's sessions. As you might remember, we actually had 3 components of that session. We won't have time to go through all of them, but we're going to go briefly through the second one, which was the stakeholder roleplay. So what we're going to do is that we're going to first have a quick recap of the 2 scenarios that we elaborated yesterday, and then we're going to split you up into small groups of 2 people, where you will be given a stakeholder, and you're going to answer these questions on the screen. If you were that stakeholder and you were facing this situation, what would be your priorities? If you're the government and this is the situation, would this even be a priority? Maybe not. What would be your constraints? Could it be that, oh, actually, you don't have the money to spend on this? That's naturally often a very common constraint, but might always be opportunities to find funds for this if you see it in a specific view. And also, given that they have certain priorities, and given that you might have priorities that are in line with what you want to achieve, what would they need in order to achieve that? So put yourself in their shoes. What do they want? What is limiting them? What would they need help with? So to give you a recap of the first day, we had the Francophone table. They had modified a goal to 80% of universal internet access by 2020. They had identified certain tools that they would need to accomplish that, among them statistics, overview of regulation, etc. And their approach to how to go about this was a very holistic approach, where they looked at the whole spectrum of things that would have to be realized in order to achieve it. Among them being infrastructure deployment, price interventions to lower the prices in certain areas, training of technical people and general education, a synthesizing campaign, local content demand would have to be increased, and a reliable power supply. Now, the stakeholders that they identified and that the mixed group will be dealing with were the government, regulators, parliament, consumers, and academia. So I'm going to pick 2 of them, and we're going to be... Yes. Is it better? You can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Okay. Perfect. So we'll be able to use all of them, but I'm thinking that we're going to use consumers and regulators. So within your table, decide which 2 of you, 1 of you, 2 of you will be discussing what the regulator thinks. Okay. It's working? Okay. So 2 of you will be discussing the perspective of the regulator, and 2 of you discussing the perspective of the consumer. I can allocate that later. And then we had the mixed group that we're focusing on. They remain the original goal of 100% having universal internet access. Kind of need to fix this. This is really annoying. working out? All right. So the mixed group approached it a little bit differently. They narrowed in on one specific issue that they would try to change in order to realize the goal of 100%, and they focused on updating an outdated legal framework. And within that framework, they focused specifically on having that framework include certain provisions, among them a child online
Let's try it. Okay, so they propose this new legal framework. One of the things to work for that legal framework to include provisions around child online protection. Integrate education in schools around ICTs, constraining multinational companies and forcing them to contribute a certain percentage of their income to a universal fund, which in turn would be managed in some way through a multi-stakeholder mechanism. And the stakeholders that they identified in this scenario were government and regulator, civil society groups, users, and more. So, based on this scenario, we will have the francophone group taking on the role of the regulator, as well as the role of civil society. So, I will come around in a group and speak to us, but for this exercise, try to respond to these questions when you pretend to be the stakeholder. If you guys try to pretend to be the government, and you're going to be responding to the scenario where you ask to provide 100% access. Put yourself in their shoes. This is a priority for them. If it's not at all, if it's a semi-priority, you can have it on your minds for what do you think? What would be some of the constraints that we're facing? Would it be that they're lacking the money to deploy it themselves? Would it be that they're lacking belief in their current school system to actually fulfill that role? Try to imagine what they think are their limitations. And then the third one, what do you think, what kind of help do you think they ask for? So we're going to try that for about 20 minutes, just quickly brainstorm a little bit, and then present to the others, and then we'll move on to the next session. All right.